So I'm working on the assembly process of the giraffes, and I had to modify these OBD2 connectors. These are the finished modifications, and these are partially finished. They come with a little plastic nub on each side that I cut off with pliers, and then I have to very carefully use this chisel to take down all the rest of the plastic. Let's get a little more light on the situation. I don't know if you can see that bar in the middle, which doesn't let it seat very well. I'm assuming these were designed for a board where that plastic... Alright, so carefully moving the chisel, trying to not cut off the terminals, but just cut off the plastic in the middle. Also, you know, ideally not stabbing myself. Alright, let's see how it looks. A little bit more. That should be good. We only bent one pin. So, that's the process I have to do for each of these. Since everybody loves an unboxing video, this should be all the parts to make 10 of them from Mouser. Oh, look at that. They're nice enough to put it all in a big red bag.
Yeah, like static.
Here, those are our headers. There's the plug for the vehicle connector, the Cat 5, these are the terminals, the amazing female terminals for the plug that goes to the camera. What do we got here? There's some wire housings. These are actually the connectors that we will be using to build the adapter that goes on the Black Panda and the harness. The dev harness comes with one of these with wires pre-attached, but I picked up some so I could build more than one. We have some resistors. These are the female connectors. Those are the things that go on the ribbon cable that connect to the header on the board. What is it officially called? Headers and wire housings. These, I believe, are going to be our dip switches. The last package of these that I got, they had come loose and they were all loose in the bag, so it's nice to see that they are in the container. And this spool, I don't know what this spool is. More terminals. 159 terminals here. These are the same terminals, right? Oh no, these are the terminals for the harness adapter. These are the terminals for the female. So that is everything we need to make at least 10 of these things. And here we have all of the parts out, laid out, and ready for assembly. Before we get too far into this, I'm going to admit right now that my soldering style may be a little unorthodox. Some of you might even say it's flat out wrong, but it works and it gets the job done. So I'm going to ignore any crap I get for my soldering style. First thing I'm doing is attaching the parts that will hold themselves onto the board. Just makes life a little easier to not have to do anything to hold them in place whilst soldering them. Stab me in the fingers. There we go. So these are the ones we do first. And I'll go pause while the soldering iron is getting ready. Alright, be prepared to be bored out of your skull. Get in there. Oh yeah. Last batch I made, I was using a screwdriver tip. This was not easy. Come on. This tip is fantastic. Alright, let's see how that looks. Looks okay to me. We'll just double check. Yep. Alright. Up next, the OBD2 port. It requires a fairly heavy dose of solder. And since the pins are so much larger, there is more mass to heat up. Come on, there we go. Apologize for the shaky hands. You should see how exciting surface mount soldering is with shaky hands. It's like some kind of a carnival game. Yes, I'm cheating a little. It's interesting, one of the other PCB assembly sites, a competitor to JLC PCB, claims that their boards are not made out of a fiberglass that can handle a proper amount of heat required to solder items to the board. I have never seen a terminal come loose. Now, maybe I don't have my soldering iron as hot as some people do, but I've had zero trouble with any of the boards from JLC PCB. I have nothing praise for their work so far. I had assumed that in order to have such low prices that they must have a massive amount of automation, and they don't. When you send up your Gerber files and they say they're reviewing them, that's actually a human sitting at a desk looking over your Gerber files to make sure that they are able to produce them. I mean, that alone, it's got to cost more than the $3 they charge you for the boards. Almost done with this guy. There we go. Okay. Something I like to do is keep a wet paper towel around to allow me to stabilize things and kind of help keep things cool. In addition to the sponge that's on the workstation. Like these RJ45 connectors, if you don't have something supporting them, they will be a little cockeyed. So now we don't have to worry about that. All right. Let me tell you, soldering these pins was a lot of fun with a screwdriver tip. I'm being sarcastic, if you couldn't tell. I know there are board holders that I could be using. In fact, I think I have one of those helping hand things, but I flip the board around so much usually that I have found them to not always be so helpful. Okay, pause it while I get some more parts on there. Attaching this terminal thing, I know there's probably like a right way to do it, which is not the way I do it. I just like to get one pin connected, then push it down, and it is all the way, and then we go ahead and solder the opposite pin so everybody's pretty much firmly in place. I got to get that paper towel under there again. All right. You can actually hear the pins steaming off water in the paper towel, which means it is helping to dissipate some of the heat, the unnecessary heat. I consider that a good thing. And the last one. All right, let's take a look. It's not perfect, but it will do the job. All right, moving on. I just like to take the soldering iron and, not soldering iron, I like to take the resistor and bend the terminal straight down, because on the way this board has been laid out for the resistor to fit effectively, the bend needs to be right at the edge of the resistor itself. See? Still, I didn't get it quite right. But whatevers. Get that in there. Now, I just want to show you these connectors here. I do actually have the headers that I could put on there. So if you wanted to run the chassis bus from somewhere else in the car, you could. The Bolt doesn't need it right now anyway. But you could run something down to the OBD2. More than likely, though, you're going to need to find a connector somewhere in the car that is not filtered. That ability is something that is coming in the future, hopefully. But all right, we'll be right back. All right, I believe this is the last part we have to solder on the board. Dip switch. It's important to make sure we put it on the right way with the, where's on? On is on this side, so it goes on like this. Yeah. You know, some of these things come in and they're just the right size. Some of them come in and they're just a hair too wide. When they're a hair too wide, they go in easier, but then they won't stay put. It's a, you know, no, it's never a perfect situation. There we go. So this one's kind of holding itself in place. So what I've been doing, and I'm open to better suggestions. I know they make tools for this, but I just stuff the paper towel underneath it to hold it in place. And then solder it down. Get some of that there. I'm trying to finish this board with this tiny piece of solder I have left. I think I can do it. Ooh, it's getting hot. But we did it. All right. This board, hold on, I don't like that pin there. That needs a little bit more. There. That's better. Okay. Now I can be happy with this result. I've considered, in the instructions, I say that people need to put some electrical tape on the bottom of this. One possibility would be to build a case. That's probably going to increase the price, though. And that involves a set of skills I don't have. I'm going to have to learn. Always like to learn new skills, though. Oh, make sure that's always set to 3 and 4 on. Another thought I'd had is maybe just coating the back with some resin. Really, that's the biggest danger, is somebody tries to pack this up underneath their cover, and they've got all these pins smooshing into something and grounding something and destroying things. And I mean, I make it very clear that I don't take responsibility for any damages this thing causes, and I won't. I can't. Don't have the resources to. But that putting tape on the back is definitely important. So, okay. Next step is to build the connector, which sucks, but we got to do it. Okay, let me back this off a little bit. Assembling these guys. Oh, I turned my soldering iron off. What I will do normally is go through and solder them all and then build these things. But for the purposes of making this video, I'm going to just go ahead and show you how these are built. The marked wire always goes, so you always hold this thing with that little pin facing toward you, and this line tells you where one is. That's not the one pin, but that's the one side. So it goes in the connector like that. I don't have a real good memory for these things, so every time I do these, I'm having to, at least at start, then look at this connector and figure out where is 1 and 2. Let's see if we can find that. You may not be able to see it, but that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. And then we flip it around. 5 starts here, 6 through 12. So we have to try to crimp the first 4 pins with the wire held this way. And then we have to crimp the last 5 pins, or however many pins, with it this way. So the first step is to separate all these wires. I separate them probably maybe an inch or so. Used to try to be all efficient about it, but it created far too much stress, or too much strain on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 wires. So stripping it back further definitely makes for a more reliable connector. Or not stripping, but, you know, tearing it back further. Okay. Next step is to strip. And I don't mean taking off clothing. I mean cutting insulation off the end of wires. It's a super, super exciting process. And you get to watch the whole thing. We'll probably speed this up in post. I say post like I have any idea how I'm going to do that. I'm sure there's some Android app that'll do it and then display ads while I'm in other apps. Enough people figure out how to do this stuff, there must be a way. I just hope it's not something that Adobe makes. So sometimes I have tried to, after stripping these wires, go back and twist them to increase the chance of them going into the terminals. I think I have learned the secret to not have to twist them. We should just be able to straighten them out. So let's find out. Here's my awesome crimping tool. This thing is saved me so much time. It's made by iWis. You can see the model number on there. It was like 30 bucks, 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon. And compared to my old crimping tool, this guy, it actually crimps correctly, and it crimps the insulation different than the wire. It's just a fantastic little piece of hardware. So we gotta take our terminal, we gotta put it in here in the right place. Oh, let's get it so you can see it. I believe this is the correct terminal spot until it clicks, so it'll hold it. Then we take our wire, and this is that trick that I learned recently. Let's see if it works. You push the wire in the hole, but you keep the wire aimed down at the bottom of the terminal, and it won't, hopefully it won't catch. And it caught. Of course. Let's try that again. There we go, no catch. Get that insulation in just the right amount and crimp the snot out of it. Then, because it's not quite wide enough, I have to back it up and give it another crimp. Let's take a look. Pretty good. Sometimes I'll give the insulation a secondary crimp, but that is not really necessary. Oh, that's the wrong. There we go. Okay. So I could be kind and just pause it, but instead I'm going to make you sit and watch me do every single one of these. I'll probably speed up the video again using this post-processing software that I still don't know about. I don't know if breaking these off first actually saves me time or not, but it's what I do. So, put terminal in place, straighten the wire, and if it works, it'll just go right on in like a boss. I just pinched my finger and it felt great. All right. Believe it or not, this process is about 10 times easier than it used to be. Using that other crimper, oh my gosh. I would have to hold on to, I couldn't take the terminals off of their backing wire, so I had a way to hold on to them. Otherwise, I would be crimping my fingers. And look at that, like butter. Okay, that one looks good. And 4. Anyway, before I learned this, we'll call it a tactic of holding the wire down at the bottom, I thought, well, obviously we got to hold the wire in the middle or up at the top. And doing that causes it to, you see this terminal here, it has the intersection for the wire and then the section for the insulation. The wire would constantly catch on this and like take you 5 or 6 times. It was awful and unreliable and everything bad you can say about a process it was. Whereas just the trick of pointing it down, 99 times out of 100 it goes in like butter. How are we looking? Looks good. Okay, first 4 are done. Now we have to flip it over, do the rest of them on the opposite side, facing the opposite way. Ah! Somebody's trying to light the house on fire, I think.
Mom's cooking.
And crimpy. Molex makes a like multiple $1,000 version of their crimper. I do not know what features it has, but I would imagine that it would accept a spool of these terminals instead of having to do them one at a time. See, I just broke my own rule and then it got caught. I would also expect that it automatically strips the wire to the right length. What am I doing wrong here? Automatically strips the wire to the right length and then automatically inserts it into the terminal perfectly, crimps it perfectly, all while you are drinking a soda. And if I were in the business of doing this kind of stuff, that might make sense, but this is just a hobby. And I sure as heck don't intend to be making these giraffe connectors for the rest of my life. Get in there, you. I think it's in. We'll find out. I don't like having to redo a crimp, but oh no, that worked out fine. Better to have one short wire with a reliable crimp than, a bad crimp that's the right length. I don't know if you can see this. Down at the bottom, in like butter. Looks good. What do we have? 4 more to go. I feel like we can do this. We're working as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Boo. Oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. Oh, yes, you did. Oh, well. Can't win them all. Oh, boy. I do apologize that this is not the most exciting thing. Probably you aren't even going to be able to hear what I'm saying because I'll be playing the Benny Hill theme or something in the background to try to make it remotely entertaining. There we go. Sorry, I did that off camera. I'm still getting used to this whole having people watching thing. I get all nervous and then I mess up. Did that go in there? That did not go in there. Oh, look at that. Try it again. This one may have to have a little twist. All right, one more time. For the gold. Yes. Okay. I'm going to give the insulator for good measure. Looks good. 2 more. Oh my gosh, we're almost done. We overcame. And one more on the insulation for good measure. One more. Now, how much we want to put money on the last one giving us trouble? Oh, like butter. Okay, we'll just give the insulation another crimpy. Now, the fun is far from over. Now we have to insert the wires into the terminal housing. I always insert them in order because I'm so bad with numbers. If I didn't, I'm sure I would screw something up. So we start again. If you can see it, you can't because it's not focusing. 1 is over here, 4 is over here. So We're going to insert one. If you watch, it shows up over here, but these wires aren't strong enough to push it all the way through. So we have to take a box knife, and I don't know why that's not focusing at all. Let's try this. Is that better? Yeah. We get in there with a box knife and we have to push it till it clicks. So that's one. We get to do this 11 more times. If for some reason you insert a wire into the wrong spot before you've used the box knife to set it, it's easy. You can just pull it right out. After you have set it, which we're about to do here, you can actually use a knife to pry these plastic pieces up and still pull the wire out. I've done it before. It's not the worst thing. Okay, top side is done. Close it. It's important to push down on this plastic piece on the side because it latches, and push down on this one too. So it looks like we're half done, but we're just getting started. Again, I like to double check just to be sure that 5 is indeed on this side and 12 is on this side. So we just start with our next wires, which you'll notice because we crimped them on the opposite side, they're already facing the right way to be inserted. We can even insert a couple at a time. Just have to make sure you push them in hard enough that you can get the box knife behind them. Oh, come on. There's one. And 2. Locked and loaded. Always make sure when you're doing this that you don't get fooled by twisted wires. I have done that. Speaking from experience, twisted wires, bad idea. Ooh, this one's being tight. There we go. Did I just mess that up? Nope, looks all right. All right. Now let's set these. Okay. Looks like we have 3 more. One, 2, and finally, oops, this way, 3. Let's push them in. Okay. Come on. There we go. The camera connector is assembled. It's the same on this side. You have to make sure you get this. Sorry about the blurry. We'll have to work on that. And so this side, done. All done. All set. Now we just have to handle this side. Alright, the final step, at least in the order that I do it, is to actually crimp this ribbon cable onto, or crimp the terminal thing onto the ribbon cable. There are tools for doing this the right way that I don't have, so I just like to use a hammer, and it works just fine. I knock my parts everywhere, but ow. Let's see how we're doing. Oh yeah, we're almost done. Ow. Okay. We are now quite literally done with one giraffe. So there you go. That is how a giraffe is built, start to finish. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to support the research and development on this project, I would always appreciate patrons. You go to patreon.com/ I think it's Bolt Open Pilot, or the link will be in the description. Those of you who are already patrons, I can't thank you enough. You're making this whole thing possible. So, well, thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day.